Sorry about that. Good afternoon, everyone. Having received my invitation to present to you tax evasion, my first thought was, what shoes am I going to wear? Because I have a fan club. Having said that, let's proceed. Tax evasion and challenges faced in prosecuting such offenses. The topic is sexy, don't it? Yeah. I like it. All right, let's start. In Jamaica, we operate a common law system that settles disputes. Normally, it's settled through an adversarial exchange. And this is where the taxpayer would present the argument to say, it was me, according to Shaggy. Now, you'll agree with me. And I tend to agree with OECD as well, glossary of terms, as far as the definition of tax evasion is concerned. It says it's a term that is difficult to define, but which is generally used to mean illegal arrangements where liability to tax is hidden or ignored. That is, the taxpayer pay less than is legally obligated to pay by hiding income or information from the tax authorities, TJ in this case. That is the complexity of the matter that we have to deal with. The FAG index on the matter increased because if you look at the limitations placed on it, I have been practicing for well over 20 years, and I can tell you that neither the Income Tax Act nor the GCT Act define tax evasion. Sorry. Wait, no, I'm there. And this is the limitation we face. As a matter of fact, it's only the Tax Collection Act that in fact define the term. As a matter of fact, if you'll bear with me, and I turn to the Income Tax Act, section 99, and it says, knowingly makes false statement or representation for the purpose of obtaining any allowance or rebates. That is as far as the Income Tax Act goes. Now, and if you think that it ends there, if I turn to the General Consumption Tax Act, it speaks of arrangements. It says offenses involving dishonesty. This is where a person commits an offense if he, with intent to defraud the revenue, enters into arrangements for the purpose of evading the tax. Now, you must agree with me that the GCT Act is much more generous than the Income Tax Act. But that's the difficulty we face. And that only compounds the problem we face as far as the investigation is concerned. Now, the evidence in proving our case, we must present, as Madam DPP says, the law extends right across. We must present viva voce evidence. And this is in the respective parish courts that we are prosecuting these offenses. So the next matter of admissibility. The general rule of admissibility of documents is that a document is admissible through the maker. And you heard as well that we need someone to give life to the document that is presented. Now, what does that mean? That there's an opportunity for the person, if so minded, to be absent. And that in itself presents a challenge. Now, the responsibility or the mandate of the Intelligence Investigation and Enforcement Unit is to present its case or file, in this case, to the Legal Support Division, who will then prosecute the matter in court. We like at this time to acknowledge collaboration through MOU with our partners from FID, who's in the crowd, MOCA as well, and we do appreciate those collaboration. And I'll reference this because I'm coming back to it to say exactly why is that we appreciate the setup of collaboration. Now I turn to the challenges. And bear with me if some of what I have here is reference to the Manchester Parish Council case. Because as you have heard this morning, those challenges that was highlighted, those are the same challenges that we have to deal with in our investigation. Witness reluctance, for example. And we live in a society where crime is high, so you might find that the witness might be reluctant to give evidence because perhaps the nearness, perhaps the community from which they're from. These potential witnesses may have no interest in the matter, and their involvement is a consequence of their job, for example, as you heard this morning. A witness may view tax fraud as a victimless crime, so why should I bother, for example? Tax fraud may not even be seen as a serious offense. That's the nature of the crime. We also heard this morning from, again, I like to reference the Manchester Parish Council case and how intensive the preparation was. Having gave evidence in that matter, I can tell you that yes, it was very intensive. And fraud matters normally, they are intensive. They are time consuming as well. We saw the timeline in the case as well. It's not unique to the Manchester Parish Council. It is right across investigating tax fraud cases. As far as the resources are concerned, we live in an environment where resources are hard to come by and may even be placed in fighting crime rather than fighting tax fraud matters, which is considered to be white-collar crime. We welcome the opportunity as it presents itself from both MOCA and FID for training, so as to build capacity. But definitely it's a resource constraint. The law. And I mention the law here because the sections on which we seek to rely in the prosecution of tax fraud matters requires that the documents, information and summonses be served by police officers. At TAJ, we have no such person on board. And that's why we welcome and we appreciate the collaboration between FID and MOCA. I can pick up my phone and call MOCA or even FID and say, listen, we have a document to be served. And they will only ask when and where. And we appreciate that. The proceeds of Crime Act. Tax offenses are not regarded as a predicate offense. It is not regarded as a predicate offense. So consequently, what we do is that we seek a workaround. We try to use common law, for example. And the common law offense, treating the public revenue at common law, so as to ground that. And I must say, here again, we appreciate the work of FID here again. This is one of our landmark cases, one that the moderator refers to earlier on. This is where FID and TAJ has a collaboration. We receive a landmark case on the matter of Wenjong Kong and R&R Express. This is something that we regard as a success. I know that it has taken, me having been there, well over 10, maybe 15 years for a case like this. Cheating the public revenue at common law. And my team is in the background at my table. We appreciate the collaboration. The evidence. we rely at times on third party. We're often reluctant to give evidence, as I mentioned before, partly because maybe of the crime. This affects the quality of the evidence that we have. And I reference this because unlike the USA that has a grand jury to force a witness to give evidence, we don't. To counter this, however, we use what we call a test purchase. But can you imagine me approach the commissioner to give me an allowance to buy a car, for example, using that case? You simply wouldn't have that. Right. The court management stage presents some challenges as well. Opportunity for the defendant to retain counsel. Date fixing. The abundance court, the court, as we know, is they have a number of cases. And we appreciate the Chief Justice and the steps to move along the cases, but it does present a challenge to us. Acquisition of expert witness to give advice at times that may prove challenges in terms of the cost or even the availability. The unavailability of key players also presented challenge. And we see as well where in the Manchester Parish Council we have multiple accused that have to be scheduled. So those present some amount of challenge for us. Unavailability or unwillingness of witness to give evidence. Again, I would like to reference the Manchester Parish Council because it's a case that highlighted most of the challenges that we face. Witnesses might choose to go overseas rather than to give evidence, relocate. The other challenge we face is the expiration of time. Copied documents are often taken at the investigative stage pending the delay of trial, where the original would be produced due to the expiration of time and inefficiencies in agricultural systems and so on. That, again, presented a challenge to us. Treatment of documentary evidence. There has to be a custody. We have to establish the chain of custody so as to demonstrate the authenticity of the document. This is of paramount importance. Reevaluating and redacting your forensic evidence in light of the witnesses who failed to give evidence. That, again, is a challenge that we face. Just checking my time. The length of trial, as we see this morning I can't help it but again reference the Manchester Parish Council case. Passage of time, the length that the trial took to complete. This one is particularly important to us because I want to cut the low fines and sentences. The Harmonization Act has a first offense for tax fraud or tax evasion matters set at 2 million. Second offense is at 5 million. But what we have is that the judge, in their right, exercise their capacity, judicial capacity to sentence less than 2 million. What we tend to do is where we are successful, and we are successful in all the matters that we carry to court, is that we tend to publicize the cases as you have seen in the media. And we think that by publicizing those cases, we're deterring taxpayers from defrauding the revenue. So in conclusion, It's the challenge that we face. They're nothing. We can overcome them. Public education, such as this, we're thinking. Resources, we're thinking. And the continuous review and implementation of technological development. Before I take my leave, I would like to say thanks to FID, and I'd also like to acknowledge my team, Ms. Janet Scotland, Chief Tax Counsel, Criminal Litigation Unit, and I must say under her stewardship we have not lost a case. Janet, if you don't mind, I can't see you. Are you there? Forgive me, the light is in my eyes, I can't see you. Ms. Suzette Rogers, Senior Tax Counsel, Criminal Litigation Unit as well. And from my own team at IIEU, Miss Venice Ricketts. Sorry, Miss Venice Russell Young. Sorry about that, Venice. There's so many Venice coming out. Sorry about that. She's a manager at IIEU. And last but not least, Mr. Roy Evans. He's the Assistant General Manager, and he's the person through which all cases go to Janet. So I'd like to say thank you very much at IIEU. That's my presentation. Reps Ipsa Lake Tour.